don't need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
I could not be more excited. We are spotlighting in a few upcoming episodes some designers who work for me and who work at Uploft and who help to make our team so special. And today I have a designer so talented, so experienced, Anita Magyar. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Betsy, for inviting me today. I look forward to talking with you today.
Well, during my podcast episodes, typically what I do is I answer people's questions. They write in with pictures. We get into it. But I realized talking to you right before the show, they don't really know exactly what we do. And sometimes, they might be listening and might want to be designers themselves and don't even know what it takes to get here. So can you share a bit about your background? Like what made you want to be an interior designer? How long have you been doing this? Tell us just a little bit more.
Okay. So I guess I was always creative when I was a kid. I was definitely one of those people who would rearrange my room, plan it out on a napkin and just literally shove furniture around the room and or things, So I kind of was like that as a kid. I didn't know that was the beginning of design, but I guess I realized even in college when I finally was in design, one of my roommates noticed that I even styled, she would say my deodorant and my just things on my dresser. And I was like, I do. So I guess it just naturally was in me just to want to make things beautiful, take even something as simple, right, as deodorant and put it in the right perfect spot. So then I just continued, my love of just this natural gift and going to design school. So I went on to design school for interior design. I also have a background in set design, so I added that to my repertoire. And eventually, because of those backgrounds, I also got to develop home products in the industry, which was also fun because now I got to work behind the scenes, not just in front of the scenes with clients, selling products and showing them products, but also designing those products that they live with. So I got to understand how those were made and, just where they came from around the world. And it was just nice to then be able to place those items into people's homes. So I liked my background of just, I guess, a variety design. Anything design related is my obsession, I guess, and home. Everything I do has always been kind of around the home. Even when I did set design, it still felt like little mini homes to me, even if it was a character's place or space or something. So.
Well, and I think what's so inspiring about your journey is that it tells people there are so many ways to drop into this career, not just working for a design firm. There's lots of different places and industries that use interior design. And I think knowing the background of pieces, where things are manufactured, knowing those sort of specific dimensions and materials and fabrication techniques is so illuminating for the rest of the job. Even when you're shopping at Crate and Barrel, you kind of have a sense of what went in to making that drum in table, perhaps.
Yes. And also just seeing the people make it, right? Then here's an example. I was in a factory in China and they were just wrapping, the cellophane around a lampshade. And I know if you work at Betsy's firm and you've ever done an overhaul is when the designers come and we unpackage everything like it's Christmas. And one of the things we all have to do is every lampshade has cellophane wrapped around it and it's meticulously wrapped and we have to cut it perfectly so we don't damage anything. And sometimes you're doing it and why is there so many layers of this cellophane? Well, I actually watched somebody wrapping it by hand. And now every time I do it, cut that off, I think of that person who actually wrapped it so perfectly. So us as a designer got to get it to that house perfectly and clean and, and now get to open it up like I said, like it's Christmas almost.
I cut off so many of those, and I have never thought about the person who does that because shades are so delicate and so easily damaged that it really has to be treated with kid gloves. So now you've got me thinking more about people who even put it in the box, right?
Yes, I think home products, there's something about home products that just go back to, I think, perfection, right? The perfection of making it, getting it into a package in a box, shipping it, getting it to a client, and then how we set it up. Also, I think what you and I do, we perfect, right? That it's in the perfect spot or location so yeah, I think it just goes down to that right from the beginning.
Definitely. And, that is a perfect segue into tell us about your time at Uploft. So, how did you even hear about the firm? What made you intrigued and want to kind of learn more? Tell me.
Okay. Well, I was at a phase in my career, the pandemic happened, and I knew I just needed to not really reinvent myself, but add to my repertoire of skills. And one thing I had avoided was technology. So I pushed myself to go back to a program that specialized in technology for graphic design and marketing. And as I was developing, my website and just, portfolios and just learning a lot more about technology that I just wasn't doing, I then stumbled upon your company somehow. I don't know if it was just researching design firms and just kind of trying to like see how did other people talk about themselves. And then when I went into your site, I was intrigued because I had never heard of it. And then it was local. And then I saw a part-time job. So I felt like it was very kismet. I really wasn't looking for a job. I was really just improving my skill set. And then that was actually, I was finishing that degree, that certificate within a month. And it was almost like as if I was supposed to go right into your firm. So and that is how it sort of happened. I reached out to you and it helped because I also just learned everything technology wise to be able to be efficient in your position as well that you were looking for.
Right. It was fresh and you were used to that technical language, so you could kind of apply it even if, some of the programs were different to what we were doing. And I think that's so fascinating. I did not know that you weren't looking for a job when you found us. That is so funny.
Yes, I just literally, I think it's because I saw it and then it just all like lined up. And that's where Betsy knows this about me. And I'm a Buddhist. So I also feel like things don't happen for no coincidence. It just somehow something lines up, right? I guess when your heart and soul is ready. And I was done with technology and I was ready to apply it. To be honest, I was done with the school part and I really wanted to do apply it into design now. And all of a sudden it just lined up with your opening. And it was the best thing. It was and to be honest, I don't think I wanted to do technology. I really wanted to still be an interior designer. And the job working for you is I got to do what I do best. And I got to use these new technology skills. So it really actually just worked out. So.
Well, it's kind of like if you build it or if you learn it, it will come. And you weren't even sort of looking for that next piece, but you knew you wanted these skills. So that's so intriguing and hopefully inspiring for other people who are like just amassing skills, but not quite sure what they want to do with them. Right.
And I just advise to never give up learning.
Yes. Well, I think you're a great model for that because even speaking within our firm during our monthly meetings, you're now teaching interior design. There's so many different facets that you still have your hands in. And I love that you can balance it all while working part-time here. It's just such a rich tapestry of experience. But when you are taking an interior design client, when you've got a client for Uploft and you're about to go visit them, what does that look like when you're leaving your house? What does a day look like when you've got a client?
Okay. Okay. So, well, I have ADHD, so it definitely creates a dopamine, and I have like a little energy, right? Each time I have a client, I feel like this kind of little excited buzz, and it allows me to just kind of do I call it, my husband calls it my panic dance, like in the morning, where I got to get this ready and that ready and make sure then after I have the perfect outfit on and I've had my coffee, then I'm like, I got to make sure I get that bag with the tape measure, my computer, and not to forget the mouse, right? Like all the little things so I can get to my job efficiently. And then most of my work is usually like over a bridge. So I also have to make sure I get there early enough to get there on time. And when I do, then I always just look at each job as I guess like a new challenge or a new little mystery because you never know like what house you're going to, the person you're going to meet, and also besides me helping them as a designer, like what's their vision and their like function needs for their spaces. So I feel like I take my background as well as what they're looking for their home and space. And then I kind of get in there and the first thing I do with the client is we just go around and we get to know their space, like what do they like about it, what don't they like about it, and I get to hear some of the things maybe they want to keep or possibly just reuse or refunction in the space. And then after that, I go into measuring the space so we can get floor plans and really get the space defined so that the next steps of sourcing items is a lot more efficient and perfect in terms of scale and size.
Yeah. Well, I actually think, I mean, I'm not an ADHD expert, but I think that this job kind of works well with that in the terms of we take these quick projects, the turnaround is quick. There is a lot of attention to detail and hyper focus, but it's for a short time. And then you're able to bounce to the next one, and it's going to be different and yet the same, right? Our framework and the way we work is the same, but the client's going to be different. The space is going to be a new challenge. The style that they want is going to be a totally different look. So for me, it really fits my personality too, and the fact that I like new challenges. I don't want to do the same thing every day, but I also don't want to not have any sort of context for what I'm going to be doing. Like I like that routine of going in, measuring, blah, blah. It gives me some sense of security that I know the steps, but within the steps, there's going to be surprises.
Yes, I agree. And I now that I'm teaching, they're
Yeah.
actually teaching in the college level about awareness, how to teach people with ADHD or to create spaces with those people in mind. And now that I'm aware that I have it, I didn't know my whole life I had it. It was more a pandemic, like I discovered it then. So it really is something that once you are aware of it, that this is the ideal job. It's allows a lot of people with ADHD have like, you're right, hyper focus. I can go on that computer, which I avoided, which I can do really well for you now at this job. But I could go on there for hours looking for things. But then I also have moments where I love meeting people. I love, talking with people. So I do when I go to their homes and I get to know them and their space. That part's exciting. And I have also this knowledge to share with them. So I've learned when you have ADHD, sorry, you like to be in the driver's seat, right? And I feel like design is my driver's seat. I can come in and help somebody solve a problem. And I do agree, everything is like a little challenge, and I love that it's never the same. I don't get bored. And with ADHD, you can get bored easily. And I've done this career, I don't even want to say it out loud, but 30 plus years. So, and I'm still not bored. I still love learning and challenging myself and meeting new people to design for.
Yeah, I've been doing it for 20 plus years and I'm never bored. Well, that brings me to my next question. What is one of your favorite spaces or a very memorable space that you've designed?
Okay, so I kind of tweak this in a little bit. Because my background is so diverse, one of the favorite things I think is I do spaces over and over, so I do so many of those. So when I do something a little different, I had actually got the opportunity to design what we named. We had products that we designed for one of my companies, and everything had a name. And this was called the graffiti sofa, and it was this gorgeous French sofa that you would see in like a Marie Antoinette movie, right? And the company where the French sofa came from actually all the furniture came from this factory in France. And so it was a very delicate piece with 24 karat gold, damask fabric on it. And we decided we were doing this for a client. And I just kept staring at that furniture. I was like, well, what if we did something like, I don't want to say obnoxious, but just rebellious and different, was to put graffiti over it. And that's what we did. So we got this piece of furniture, and then we had an artist tag it and put graffiti on the face of it. And it was the coming out piece for our marketing for our new company to kind of grab attention. And we did the gift show in New York, and this graffiti sofa, like it kind of became, they photographed it. It became part of the gift show marketing in New York at the trade shows. And we felt it was just cool. It was taking beauty, but then bringing like that street energy to it. And it was still beautiful. I have to say, you could sit on it. It didn't ruin it. It just took it to a whole other level.
Well, that goes along with a lot of what I say on this podcast that when you put two opposites beside each other, or in your case, integrate them into one piece, like this beautiful, delicate, ornate, expensive sofa, and then put something like graffiti, cheap spray paint that people are doing on the streets, and combine these two disparate ideas, it can make something super designerly or super interesting. Whereas if you just would have had like a beautiful fabric on that sofa, that was expected. And it's kind of the same idea as the sofa itself, but putting something that's so opposite the idea of the sofa onto the sofa made the piece more interesting. So that's what I'm always telling people, like think about opposites, even when you're styling, right? Like I wouldn't put a white marble piece next to a white ceramic lamp because they're too similar. The idea that nothing will stand out versus if I put, a black marble something next to a white ceramic lamp, then we've got some conversation. So I love that idea of doing something unexpected
Yeah,
and
just
elevating it.
Yeah, visual interest. I always think it's fun. And I think it's fun, like also to, as a designer, to allow, and to clients who do this without a designer, is to allow yourself to play, right? Because that's the key is if you sometimes take it too serious, it just can be stressful, right? I mean, we've both have been in the business long enough that if you don't add a little humor and a little, whatever, because it could be stressful waiting for things to come in, waiting for, a delivery person for a few hours. It's opening up cellophane lamps could be stressful, but I feel like if you just make it a little fun and exciting and sometimes not so serious, it helps. Even when you put something, like you said, unexpected next to the lamp that just maybe makes you smile, or maybe it's something from your kids that they made for you, and it just juxtaposes that perfect space or perfect room.
That high low or that bit of whimsy. Exactly. Exactly. And speaking of, where do you find cool items? Specifically in the city, is there a resource where you love to find something unexpected, a hidden gem, if you will?
Well, years ago, of course, I just before the internet and all of this, I'm a little more old school than you. So I used to always just be in the D&D building and a lot of the little kind of private boutique shops around there for rugs and things. And I loved going to it. It was definitely just a higher end, more exclusive part of the design industry. But nowadays, I also just love like working with you. I actually source a lot online and just finding these kind of new and different websites, and there's just so much now being curated out there by designers. But like besides those elements of design, I always still even recommend, if you get the chance, to just go flea marketing. Like I used to go to Brimfield in Massachusetts, and it's a big huge flea market outdoors. And it's like, for me, because I'm in New York, it's like a little drive out there and you camp out for the night, but it's just so fun. You, if you are obsessed by it, you could go at 4 in the morning. I'm a little bit more like a 10 a.m. or with a cup of coffee, but you just walk fields of a little bit of grass and dust on your feet and just find cool things. So that sometimes is just my favorite part, is to go somewhere where not everything's brand new.
Yes. Or in my case, because going somewhere can be daunting with everything going on. At night, I troll the online auction sites. I troll
Oh,
them. Yeah. I'm
good
pretty much
one.
on there at least 3 to 4 times a week at night for at least 30 to 40 minutes. And there's just these online auctions, and I just bid, bid, bid on any little random thing I find. But I like have a max bid of $3. Sometimes it's not even worth the gas money it takes for me to go pick up this $3 item. But they're just fun little unexpected, whimsical things that you're never going to find on a website.
Yeah,
So,
you got to find things that are just different. I agree. Because if
yeah.
we stay on, I think if we stay at the sources that we're all used to or that we expect to find good design, we don't find the unexpected, right? So it is nice to go out of, like, whether it's online, that's like another way of like just going to a flea market and finding something that somebody once loved and now it just needs new love.
Yeah, and it almost has that extra layer of interest because it has memories, it has a patina, it has a story. So I that's why I love thrift stores and now online auctions. But yeah. Well, what is your favorite place online to look for something unique? You mentioned websites. Is there one in particular where you're like, I always go to this website and find something cool?
Well, I love Lulu in Georgia, even though
Mm.
not everything always gets shipped exactly perfect from there, but I just love their stuff. I'll, just say why. There's like I have, like, I don't know if you can tell it, but I have like a little bohemian side to me. My husband reels that side in because it's not him, but I do love things just that are unexpected or colorful and just sometimes one of a kind. And they do have some like really great curated pieces there, like unusual rugs, as well as some just cool pieces of furniture. So I do like that. And Anthropology would be my other like little place to find those. Like I look at it as one of a kind, or like as if you collected the piece and found it at that flea market, but it's brand new and just a little different.
And you don't have to leave your couch. You can just click and buy and it comes. Yeah. Because even with the auction, you got to go drive and pick it up. So that is a benefit of anthropology. Yes. And what is something, one element that you're always trying to include in every design? Is there something that's on your checklist where you're like, I must add a little bit of this?
I usually like to add a little bit of color. And also, I like, as you can see, organic things. So even if it's a faux plant or it's just a pillow in color that's on a very neutral interior, I still like some sort of color. And it doesn't mean you don't, some designers just love it all texture neutrals, but I still like one little pop of color, and it doesn't have to be a lot. But if we can do more color, that's usually my preference. But at least color is always something I like to add.
Clients are often, especially, I find that they're a little more open now, but even 5 years ago, so resistant to color. I mean, it was like pulling teeth to try and convince them that we could do something other than gray. Are you seeing with your clients that they're more open, or were you always able to convince them that color was a good idea?
I usually can convince people at least a little bit of color, sometimes more. And I think because I also intuitively combine design, like I had somebody who was just going through a divorce, and she was going to do something in gray and what she already had in the other space. And just because it was easy, right? She had it, she knew it was comfortable. And I was like, wait, this is a new chapter in your life. And I was like, maybe we should change the color of that couch and just do it a little differently. And just by bringing it up, she also felt that. But I also felt like it was a change, right? It was, she's in a new space and a new chapter for her life. So yeah, I convinced her to do color that I don't think she originally would have wanted to do it. And we did it. And then it did create a new, fresh space for her moving forward.
And I think even calling that out and saying, I'm not just doing this to change something up, I'm doing this because it could signify this next chapter. It could bring up new emotions for you in this space that maybe you had some bad memories in, right? So, really setting that intention with her, I think makes her value and understand the design a bit more than just saying, I want you to incorporate color.
Yes, and sometimes I look at it. This is how I kind of think of the parallel. If you know Mary Poppins, the movie, when Bert takes everyone's by the hand and says, "We're going to jump into the sidewalk now," right? And they go from like black and white into a colorful world. So I try to do that with people, and of course, not everyone wants full color, but I feel like if I can take your hand and guide you and bring color into your life without it being like I obviously can handle it, so I don't do that for everybody of my clients, but I at least give them little bits of it just so that it just makes it happy and cheerful in a space as well as feeling, maybe elegant or sophisticated too.
Yes, and it's such a low risk element, but I love that Mary Poppins analogy. Now you're making me want to go watch that clip again. That's so fun. I saw it, maybe when I was 5 or something. So I need to go watch it again because I feel the exact same way about color. You probably know that. Now,
I think
what's your, huh? Oh, what was that?
just say I think it's because most people, because you and I deal with color every day, we're not as scared of it. And I think clients sometimes they don't know, what is that the right color? Can I mix this color with that color? And they just might overthink it. But I think you're right. I think we allow them to put some color in, and we know how to mix it up for them a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, I've always been a color addict, so I don't even know. I never had to convince myself that color was a good idea, but I do push it on clients. So I like the idea of thinking of myself more as a steward who's allowing them to jump with me versus just shoving color on them. I feel like I just take a rainbow and be like, take it. You're taking this rainbow. So I'm gonna look at that clip. But what's your number one design tip besides incorporating color? Is there something else that you really feel everybody should do or some people should think about?
I don't know if it's that I use it it's a tip that I use when I need to use it is like, for example, if you go into a space or hallways or areas that there's not like a lot of light and it could just feel dark and maybe, unlike my space, you could feel the light coming in. But if it just doesn't have those natural qualities, I like to use lighter rugs or even a larger light piece of furniture, whether it's the sofa, because I feel like it adds fake light. So that's a term I use a lot is fake light that you can just take a dark hallway and even before turning the light switch on, that lighter rug just adds that brightness that it just makes the space feel a little bit, it just gives more light to the space overall.
Right. It brightens it up without even needing
Yeah.
a lamp right there on all the time. I love that. And I know you work in mostly suburban spaces. Sometimes you're working in urban spaces, but what is the most common challenge you see? Because people think, at least on the East Coast, our suburban spaces are oftentimes as small as apartments. For instance, my child's bedroom is as big as a bedroom in an apartment that we lived in. Because the houses are historic, a little bit older, they're not sprawling. We're kind of close together in Westchester and the Connecticut suburbs. So, what's a challenge that you're continually seeing?
I think it's just getting the right storage into a space, right? Because I'm working with someone who is, you just mentioned, a historical home, and the closets aren't as big. I also grew up in that. And if you ever grew up in a historical home and your mom basically gets the rights of every closet. So we all had a little bit of her stuff in our closet. So the key was, how do you have some of mom's stuff as well as your own? And so one of the spaces I noticed that, especially in a kid's room or certain areas, is you forget about the height, the vertical part of the room. So I like to put either bookcases sometimes, even if it's just a shelf like over a window, or possibly if there's a desk, maybe put it up above higher so that you can just get some stuff up and out. And it's like free space, right? Because everybody fills the floor plan and fills the room, below with, items and things. But that space above, sometimes it just is a place, even if it just, you put pretty stuff up there besides books, but it is another part of the room you can utilize.
Agreed. Crawl those walls. Well, Anita, this has been so helpful, so illuminating. Plus, I mean, I get to know you guys because I talk to you regularly, but it's nice to get to know you in a different way. And I don't even know where you're from. As you were mentioning, I grew up in a historic home. I didn't know that. Where are you from originally?
I grew up in Rockland, so I grew up in Pearl River,
Oh,
but it was like a 1920s Tudor style home, and that's what it was. We just didn't have, these big closets. Like I'm in a house now. This I think house is more like 69 or 60, 65. It was built, and our closets are so big. I joke like to my husband, like you could put a twin bed in them. Whereas not the house I grew up in. It was like we were just never had enough room because the closets were so small.
well, there are beautiful historic homes over there. Rockland is filled with beautiful historic homes, but that area, I went to see a home in Pearl River because that was my one thing when we were looking for a house. It had to be a historic home. So it really narrowed my options, but not in that area. Rockland has a lot of them.
And did you get big closets in your home?
Actually, I got big closets. Can
Oh,
you believe
good.
it? They must have changed the floor plan a little bit, even though it doesn't look like it, but the closets are really big. But they must have done something because it's
Well,
the
then,
first time I've had big closets, huh?
well, then you lucked out.
I did because and also my need for closets is very low. So what I think is a big closet, other people don't. But in my last house in Dobbs Ferry in Westchester, the closets were minuscule. I don't have any clothes that hang. Like maybe I have two coats. Everything I own folds. So my husband gets all the closets and my kids just shove their toys in there. Like kids don't hang up their clothes, or at least mine don't. So we don't even use our closets. But anyway, that's just me.
No,
I
that's
refuse to hang things. So that's a fun fact. If it doesn't fold, I don't want to own it. And I don't even have an iron.
uh,
So.
that
We,
that was one of my guilty pleasures was ironing. And I remember my mom loved to iron, and that's what she said. She goes, "You're my only kid who loved ironing." And I said, "I don't know what it is. There must be something in just getting the creases out of everything. But if you need ironing done, just pass it my way. I'll do it."
I'll ship it to Rockland. I will because I hate it. I was like, I don't want my husband thinking that I'm going to get near this thing and I don't hang anything up. So, but our closets are packed with his stuff. Anyway, I think we derailed. We got a little too personal look at that, but it's always nice to meet the face behind the designer, hear more, because I know a lot of people who are listening are certainly inspired by design or maybe even want to be designers. So I hope that Anita's story has inspired you today. If you want to learn more about Anita, where should they go? If they're like, Anita, we need to know more about you. We want to see more of your designs. Where can we look?
At Anita at Uploft.
Perfect. Yes, we have her mood boards there. We'll be featuring this video on YouTube and we'll be cutting in some pictures of her work. So you will definitely want to check it out there. And Anita, we love having you on the Uploft team. You bring so much experience and you bring so many different sort of levels of expertise that I'm not only in awe, but I'm grateful I got to learn more today.
Thank you. And I keep learning from you as well. So it's a pleasure to be part of the team.
It's symbiotic. Well, we'll be hearing more from you, I'm sure. But thanks for coming on today's episode, and I'll see you soon.
Great. Thanks for letting me share today. It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
A big thank you to our amazing producer, Catherine Heller, to Aton and the MVCR House Band, and to Affordable Interior Design, the sponsor of this podcast and the premier place to get an amazing look on a budget. Check out affordableinteriordesign.com.
If you guys love the show, the very best way to support us is by spreading the word. Tell your friends or write us an awesome review on iTunes. So until next week, guys, thanks so much for joining us, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.